This is Mason Web TV, powered by HCC.
This broadcast on Mason Web TV, powered by HCC, is being made possible by Hood Canal Communications, committed to providing quality services that exceed customer expectations in voice, video, data, and customer service, keeping our community connected since 1934. Mason County Public Health and Human Services Prevention Education Partners Substance Abuse Prevention Coalition, helping provide prescription drug take-back boxes in Mason County and providing lockable bags for your prescription drugs, cannabis, and vape products. Mason County PUD 3, connecting our community with safe, reliable, economical, and sustainable services 24/7. The Conklin team at Windermere Real Estate. When it comes to real estate, nothing compares to local knowledge. And Mason Health, united community, empowered people, exceptional health.
Good evening, everyone. I think we better get started. And thank you for coming this evening. And welcome to Speed Dating with the Candidates. It's brought to you by the League of Women Voters of Mason County with Mason Web TV streaming. My name is Amy Davis, and I'm part of the leadership. First, something you may not know, and that is that the League is 103 years old. Thank you. It is a nonpartisan political organization encouraging informed and active participation in government, and it does not support political parties nor candidates. So second, October is voter information month. So what better way to get more informed than to meet the candidates? So thank you so much for coming out tonight, and we'll hopefully all become better informed tonight. If you want to know more about the League of Women Voters, we have a website, our own website, and it's at lwvmasoncounty.org. You can find out all about our meetings, our programs, our activities that we do, and so check that out. Let's go to the few procedures that we need to have this evening run smoothly. So first, Candidates will move from table to table. Now, since I'm standing here, we're going to move this way. So that's counterclockwise. So the first candidate will move over here to the first table and sit down. The second candidate to the second table. Hopefully there's a chair ready for you. And it's usually at the end of the table. So great, whatever you feel is necessary so you can hear each other. Okay, also voters may ask questions of the candidate. I'm sorry, I'm getting influence from over this section. Okay, good. So we'd like to learn as much as possible from our candidates tonight. So we have a very short period of time. So we're counting on everyone to be courteous and respectful and get as many questions in as we can and listen to each other. I want to make sure you know that Mason Web TV is streaming live tonight. And now I'd like to introduce our moderator, our incomparable Joel Meyer, and he'll give you more directions to start off the evening. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much. So step one has been taken care of, and the candidates have done an admirable job lining up at the front of the room. Good. And Tom Gilmore, City of Shelton Council Member 5. So I'm sure we'll hear from those folks in other meetings throughout the campaigns. So here's your first test, 30 seconds each to introduce yourselves. Are we going to time them on this one, or just give them the benefit of the doubt? Okay. So once you have your 30 seconds of fame here, you hand it off to the next person, and I'll come over and grab it from you when we're all done. Okay, here we go. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kadeen Ferguson Brown, and I am one of the Superior Court judges here in Shelton. I am running to retain my seat as one of the Superior Court judges, and I would love for you to vote for me because I am the most qualified candidate that is running for this position. I can say that without any qualms because I believe that wholeheartedly. And I know that I have shown that over the last few months. Thank you so much. I apologize. I was informed I needed to point out that I am a member of the League of Women Voters. I don't know anything about the questions or anything that was planned tonight. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Carla Knudsen Johnston, and I currently am on the Shelton School Board. I'm running for District 1. District 1 is one of 3 areas, and then we have 2 at-large positions. So my interest comes from my background of teaching. I was a teacher for 33 years in the Shelton School District, really loved my career. I retired in 2015 and had some time with my elderly husband, and it's been very nice talking to you this evening.
All right, it goes fast, doesn't it? I'm Carrie Davidson. I am running for one of the at-large positions on the Shelton School Board, position 2. I have been on the school board for the last 8 years. I've been president for the last 2. I have 2 children in the Shelton School District. When I first ran, they were in kindergarten and the 1st grade. Now they are both in high school. My husband and I are both graduates from Shelton High School, so we went through the school system here ourselves, and I just would love your vote to continue in my role in doing the best I can to help with the direction with the school district and giving our students lots of opportunities so they can have a bright future.
Thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. Sue Patterson, currently a commissioner at the Port of Shelton, have been there for 8 years and have been the treasurer for 8 years. We have built up our savings and our real estate holdings, and having had experience running businesses, that's pretty much what the commissioners do, is set policy for the running of the port business. Would appreciate your vote.
Good evening, my name is Mark Frazier. Last 17 years raising my family. Proud Shelton High graduate. I also work for Central Mason Fire and EMS as a firefighter and a lieutenant. I'm very acutely aware of what the feeling on the ground is in the city, and I want to be part of the change within our beautiful town.
Dale Elmland, public servant for, at least 53 years out of the 63 years, and worked in public service in California, Washington, federal government, and all serving you. And I want to tell you I'm running for Port Commissioner. I want to make some improvements, at least help make some improvements, and see where it goes from there. Thank you.
My name's Dave Stevens. I'm currently a senior felony prosecutor in Mason County, and I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for putting this on. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is George Blush, and I'm running for Shelton City Council seat number 1. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight and for putting this on. I'm currently the chairman of the Mason County Housing Authority. I'm on the board of directors for Crossroads Housing. I run 5XL Shelton Pet Food Bank, and my family and I run Nita's Coffee Shop in downtown Shelton. I am a part of the downtown community every day. I'm down there dealing with people, helping with people, doing what I can to make Shelton a better place. I want to be your next city council person so that I can continue doing the good work that I do.
Hi, I'm Kathy McDowell. I am running for City Council seat 2. I'm running to retain my seat. I've been there for 8 years, and I'm hoping to get a final 4 years in with this one. I have projects that I've got to finish, and we finished the basketball court and the parking lot. That was a big project for us to do, so I'm looking at more projects to do. I want to make Shelton better. It's coming along, but you know, we need money and time, and we need people that love the city to run. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tristan Smith. I'm running for City Council seat 1 against George Blush. I live and work in downtown Shelton. I also own my own construction company that is doing very well thanks to a lot of the citizens. I'm all for trying to add some responsibility, fiscal responsibility, and making sure that we make Shelton a good place for not just ourselves, but any visitors that might want to come here and spend money as well. Thank you.
Good job, thank you. So Dedrick Allen and I both worked in radio. 30 seconds is never as long as it needs to be, and it seems much shorter than it actually is. So now you get the opportunity to find your table. I won't direct you there, just go find one, and we'll start this speed dating process. Come on down, any table.
Awesome. How about you, bro? Good. How you doing, young fella? Bob, welcome. Thank you.
For you. So, gentlemen, who would like to start?
Okay. The police chief. Hired a new one.
Yes, sir.
And when's the other one going to leave?
November 7th.
And is our ratio officer versus population, is that going to improve?
I hope to be able to find a way to do that, because I tell you what, my wife is in law enforcement here in Mason County, and it's a big problem right now. It's something that we're up against all over the place. Recruiting new officers here when you can go in any direction in the county, into any of the other counties, and make $1,000 more a month makes it hard for us to keep officers. So what we need to start doing is working together with the tribal and the county parts and trying to find a way to get some money together so that we can better fund our police force. We definitely need them downtown. I call them often. The clock tower across the street from my restaurant is constant problems. There's people over there using drugs. There's people over there using the bushes as all sorts of different things that you don't even want to know about.
Yeah.
And the cops are great down there. When you got to call them, they definitely show up. But we definitely need more, because they can't be everywhere all the time.
So what qualifies you to serve on the city council, and why would you want to serve or continue to serve?
So the reason I want to be on the city council is what I've learned of the city council is it's a lot like being on a board.
George, a question on police, back to police.
Yes, sir.
Would you support partnering with the Shelton School District to provide more resource officers for the schools?
Absolutely. I thought it was one of the worst ideas that we made when we took them out of there. My son Walter attended, the one out there, Pioneer Elementary School. And when he was there, Officer Cuthbertson and him used to play basketball every single day. And it built a rapport between my son and him that when I was a kid growing up in projects in New York City, we didn't have a chance to get a rapport with them like they did. And I think that's really important for our community to have.
Let's talk about downtown vitality. I mean, one of the things that has long been and I'm sure that those of us here at this table have seen this, a desire to have the downtown Shelton core as a vibrant, thriving community, beautiful, attractive to people coming downtown. You as a business owner in downtown Shelton, what is...
Again, we got to stop this.
I want to follow up on that.
Yes, sir.
That would be a management issue, but what about an infrastructure approach? Are there anything like maybe building on the western entrance to downtown or some other amenities that you would want to be pushing as a member of the council if you're elected?
I think before we can start prettying things up, we need to clean it up. And that's just my opinion. I want to see it grow. But first, in a short order, with a few different changes in management, I think we're going to see it get cleaned up pretty quickly. And that's what I'm hopeful for. Is it guaranteed? Absolutely not. But I know that I've been up against a lot of different situations so far. With the Housing Authority, I had tarps on roofs everywhere. I had drug dealers and drug addicts everywhere. I got all the drug addicts out. I got all the tarps off the roofs. I remodeled almost 90% of the apartments there. I still have insurance jobs that I'm waiting on. But I keep people housed, and that's something that I'm very passionate about and I want to see. But we also got to hold people accountable for how they live. You can't have people throwing garbage all over the place because it doesn't bring anybody who wants to come to downtown. They're taxing us out right now. They just talked about doubling the B&O tax, and that's hard on businesses downtown. When gas is $5 a gallon, it's hard for any of us to survive. And then you add the crime. I mean, look, they're putting up new caging off everything in town. If you want to buy alcohol in this town, you got to call a guy with a lock and a key in order to do it. That's sad. This is Shelton.
What do you think of that?
I tell you what, here's what happened. Once upon a time, I had a conversation with one of the fire chiefs around here. And what he said to me was, I've never had to bring the jaws of life to a roundabout. So if that is going to save people, I think it's a good idea. And I'm not a big fan of them, I'm going to be honest with you. But if they work, hey, listen, I haven't had as many close encounters at the bottom over there by Mickey's Deli now as I did when it was the Speedway coming flying down the hill. So it's definitely, it works as much as, they're a little bit annoying and not everybody knows how to use them. They do work and they are effective. So I wouldn't be opposed to it at all. I don't know that we can.
We still see occasional logging on Park Street.
On Park Street? I come up with it all the time, and I'm always looking. I see every once in a while, there's one that sneaks through. I'm like, oh, come on, dude. The signs are everywhere. There's no excuse for it. And as much as we've improved that road over the last couple of years, after the mess that it had become because of the trucks, you'd figure, Sierra Pacific would be a little bit more giving. They all got to live here in our community, too, and use that road. So, you'd figure they'd be a little more mindful of that. I don't know.
I don't have any follow-up questions.
Bob. One of the toughest issues that I always faced down there was the economy between road and current residents paying the fees. And we've got a huge development proposed up at Coffee Creek up in our neighborhood. Got other developments proposed. Kind of talk me through your philosophy on who pays for that stuff, the developer, and how much needs to get paid by current residents.
So, I think that developers normally, if you're building a big, huge amount of something there, then, split the cost. And I think we need to look more at the county, because I think they can help more than they have been historically, and I think we can get a lot better services for our community from that.
Thank you. All right, George, appreciate it. It's a good question. I didn't see any of the questions here, but the growth issue, very important. Thanks, Paul.
Hi, Mark. Well, hello, gentlemen. Good. Sir?
See Mark?
No, these faces.
Doctor?
Thanks for having me.
Okay. I'd be interested in you to follow up on that question that we finished with.
Start off, Mark, with that one?
Yeah.
Well, how about I introduce myself real fast in case, not everybody knows me, but Mark Frazier, born and raised in Shelton. I'm running for...
There's a dichotomy between growth and existing residents.
Sure.
As far as fees, infrastructure costs. We can't start yet.
All right, go ahead. Carry on.
Just discussing generally the philosophy of, who carries the cost between development and current residents when infrastructure is needed.
Well, I think it's a pretty straightforward answer currently, that our current tax base is footing the cost for previous decisions and until we truly get some growth, even future decisions, because there's only so many bodies in our town, there's only some roofs, there's only so many taxpayers. So right now, no matter what, the current tax base is going to take the brunt of that. We raised our rates. New folks that come to town will only have known those rates, but those folks that lived in town, they're feeling the crunch, they're feeling the squeeze, so to speak. So if we don't encourage a community that embraces growth, now I would love to maintain our quaint town, I would love to maintain our identity, but we are always going to feel a squeeze if we don't find a way to bring more people to our community. Yeah.
How knowledgeable are you about emergency management plans in regards to natural and man-made disasters? And is there anything unique that you think needs to be addressed?
I know that the city's signed an interlocal agreement with county to manage all of our DEM, all of our emergency management stuff. The contract's pretty laid out, who's responsible for what. I don't think your average citizen is aware of what that really means and whose responsibilities are where. I think our citizens just want people to be there when they need help. I would like to see the city take a little bit more of an active role and have a representative. I mean, the entire downtown corridor is the pretty much lowest part in Mason County. And if we had some sort of, bizarre tidal event or even an earthquake with all the fill ground down there, we could see a massive, crippling, maybe not even something we can come back from event. And having another agency be our lead and kind of guide us down that, I think is risky. I've read the management plan. I don't think it's a terrible plan. I just think the city needs to be much more involved.
Growth management. There's 4 UGAs in Mason County, and you feel that Shelton should take over more land, you might say, for growth management, for growth, or not, or just maintain current boundaries.
So it's kind of loud in here. I want to make sure. So you're asking if we expand our footprint through the UGA, and well, it's a follow-up question from a previous table where I heard somebody say they're having a hard time finding a place for their business, having a hard time finding a building. At some point, our footprint is going to get full. If we truly want to grow and we truly want to bring economy, if we truly want to bring roofs to our community, at some point in time, we probably will have to expand that footprint a little bit. There's only so much real estate out there. I don't know how aggressive we want to be, because obviously that's going to be partnerships, and again, there's only so much land and everybody's already got it staked out. So I think it's probably something we are definitely going to have to pay attention to. We're going to have to look at. I know we have some room for growth, but there's some roadblocks that we've been dealing with for quite some time. I know we're working on that. Hopefully that's something to come fruition, and we don't have to necessarily be aggressive about taking on more property. But again, if we're going to grow, I like the phrase grow by design, not because you have to. I'd much rather be proactive.
We did have a forum question about a specific utility, but all the utilities within the city of Shelton are self-supporting utilities, enterprise constellation.
Okay.
And so you've got sewer, water, so forth, and all costs are rising. What are some of the things that you think as a council member you would bring to bear, or your knowledge would bring to bear, on dealing with the sewer infrastructure, water rates, things like that?
Sure. I'm really proud of my history in this town and seeing our growth and our change, but there's some things that I was not part of in previous administrations that I don't want to repeat. I'm a little surprised at our overall shock that we need more water storage. That seems to have more recently come up. I feel that's something we could have predicted out and been, again, more proactive about. But when it comes to running those utilities, any service within the city, I think we need to prioritize our equipment and our management. I know we have good people in those spots, and I know we've trimmed employees and we've had positions cut and merged and really gone there. But when we look at equipment, are we buying the equipment that's going to last us? Are we spending our money properly? Are we doing preventative maintenance to keep it from falling into disarray? I mean, if you let a truck fall completely apart, it's more expensive to replace than it is to repair. I think prioritizing some of the equipment, not to beat up on any one organization, but I heard at a recent meeting that one of the agencies' average rig was 17 years old. Well, I know they have some brand new vehicles, and I know they have some older vehicles, so we're looking at an average. But are there a couple of vehicles in there that are throwing the average off? Is it okay to have a backup piece of apparatus that's 20 years old because it's never used, versus the stuff that's getting piled on every day needs to be updated more? Again, efficiency and priorities, I think, are getting missed right now. Everybody wants all brand new shiny things, but we all want, utilities, public works, all that stuff. And if we all buy brand new shiny things every single time, we go through the budget pretty fast.
Mark, question on the police in town.
Okay.
Would you support a continued partnership, enhance a partnership with Shelton School District for resource officers?
Oh, absolutely. I had great relationships with a resource officer when I was in school. It's not even necessarily a policing presence. It is a calming presence, and it is great for what's the word I'm looking for recruitment, for retention, to break down that barrier where your officers aren't bad guys. I mean, the resource officers were the coolest guys ever, but they just had a really good insight that they could take back. And so when there was problems, a lot of times they could deal with it before it got to the court system. And I think it's always a good thing. I think sharing, I would say thing with the fire department, I would say thing with all the districts. Getting into the schools and being a part of that is super important for our growth.
We're running close to the end of the time.
I'm going to get ready here.
I did it too early.
But okay. I do have a question. I think we should ask this of all the candidates. Why are you the best candidate for this position?
I know who I am. I know what I want to be. I haven't had the chance to meet my opponent, and I don't want to say that they are not as good. I hope both of us are amazing, because you guys are going to get one of us either way. And so if it's not me, I hope my opponent's an incredible human being, because Shelton deserves that. I have lived here my entire community. I'm part of a nonprofit that gives back to our community. I've lived civil service my entire adult life. And I think bringing that experience to the city council is going to be a benefit in all the decision-making process.
And we still have a little bit of time. Any 10-second questions you guys might have?
I'll ask you. You might not be up on this, but the Transportation Benefit District, you familiar with that?
I'm not.
Okay.
No, sorry about that.
Okay.
I will be, though. I'll tell you what, that's on my to-do list. Yeah, I got my notes.
It'll be coming up.
Okay.
So when that on your list,
Thank you. Absolutely. I'm learning. I'm learning some every day. That's the crazy part about this process. I didn't realize what hit the ground running meant. I mean, I was getting phone calls day one, and every day there's something. Every day there's an email. Every day there's a community question and stuff like that. I will tell you, I very much underestimated the civic pride and involvement in our community, and it's actually reaffirming my decision to run, and I'm actually more excited than the day I ran, because I'm getting more of this feedback and learning more. I'm really excited to bring all that forward and move forward with Shelton.
and as Bob would attest, anyone here at the stable that's been in an elected or position like that, lots of phone calls, even more than now.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And the learning curve continues.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. No,
Haven't you been a city council?
City council.
Yeah.
And how many positions have you held, Ross?
Shelton Schools and County Commissioner.
And I had my 2.5-month term as a county commissioner in '92. And look what it did to me.
No, and learning from those and having really good connections and the ability to go talk to folks and have a good relationship with people. That if I have a question, again, that historical, come talk to me. Hey, why was this decision made? Good or bad? Because right, hindsight's 2020. I would love to go back and know everything that I, know now. But why was that? And not being afraid to ask those questions. Because we have a whole new turnover. We have new city managers. We have a new police chief. We're gonna have another new police chief. We had a couple of fire chiefs in the last few years. When you have that kind of turnover in a large organization, it's hard to steer the ship. It's hard to have a cohesive plan. So, all of you gentlemen, man, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Sounds like it's more like 10 minutes.
11 minutes is what they changed it to.
Probably.
Sorry, I should have let you
Fewer
know that.
candidates.
Oh, here, let me get this for you.
Why, thank you, Mark.
There we go. Hello.
Hi, Sue.
A couple familiar faces here.
How are you?
You're going to be nice to me, right?
Sure.
Sue Patterson. Port of Shelton.
Know Ross?
I do know
And
Ross,
Bob?
I know Bob, and I
me,
know
hopefully?
Joel.
Excellent.
Yes, I do.
So tell you what, who would like to make the first question? Oh,
I didn't make any poor questions.
I was going to say, Mr. I'm prepared.
I'll come up with some.
Who's going to ask me what a federal trade zone is?
Okay, there you go. Tell us about what a federal trade zone is and why it would be important for Mason County.
And then you can ask my opponent the same thing.
Are
you here?
I think you skipped the table.
Okay.
So, federal trade zone, also a company wanting to locate here that did that kind of thing, say they built cars. They could bring in the radios for the. This is just an example that don't quote me. When you import a radio, let's say there's 5% duty on it. But if that radio is installed in a car, the duty on cars is only 2.5%. So the federal trade zone, if the work is performed in the federal trade zone, allows the radios to be included in the car and only pay the 2.5% duty on them, as opposed to the 5% that you pay if you were just turning the radio over. Yep.
Now I'm going to ask a question that's not on this list.
Oh dear.
Because I'm very ignorant as far as what a port commissioner does, okay? I used to fly, I flew out of Sanderson during the time that I was active there. But is the port just kind of that area that's within it, or does it incorporate other businesses in the area? What does the port of Shelton do?
The land encompassed by the Port of Shelton is dictated by the original port district, which was set up in 1946. It starts for us, the Port of Shelton, at the old fairgrounds and goes north on the west side of 101 up to Highway 102, the State Patrol Highway, and everything west of that. And with the permission of the FAA, we manage the airport. The other businesses that are located there are supposed to be airport related.
Okay.
But we also have land across the road right here.
Okay.
And it includes Mason County Recreational Area. It includes Lynch Creek Farm. We are adding, Belco Forest Products is adding, going to be leasing land from us for their addition. And so we have, several hundred acres on that side of Johns Prairie also. And it's industrial land, most of it unoccupied.
So you were talking about duty and taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Does everything that comes into the businesses in Shelton, do they go through the port
No.
first? Okay.
No. All we are landlords.
Okay.
We collect a leasehold improvement tax for the state of Washington, but it's like sales tax, where
Okay.
they pay it, we remit it to the state.
Okay.
But there's no other tax that they pay to the port. It's just rental income.
Okay.
Well, back in the day of Jim Pauley and the Bisnair, and can't think of the guy who used to have the mortgage outfit downtown. SeaTac. This airport is out of the SeaTac radius flight path. And back, Bud Lyons, that's the other guy.
I'm a newcomer in town. I've only been here 25 years.
So anyway, way back when, there was talk of extending the runway.
Mm-hmm.
And I suggested to Bud at the time, this is 92, I think. Well, if you have all this equipment to extend the runway, why don't you make a parallel runway too? And at the same time, the Port of Seattle was trying to get Delphi Valley, south of Tumwater Airport. That was just a ruse to make third runway in SeaTac. But now...
That's the Port of Seattle.
Yeah, but now they're maxed out. And this is a good spot for a regional airport.
Absolutely.
And how would you pursue that?
How would I pursue it? I'm not sure that I would pursue it at this point. We currently the runway is 5,005 feet. We would have to extend it. I'm thinking at least 2,500 feet for larger airplanes, maybe more than that. I'm not a pilot, and I'm not an aeronautical engineer. I think there are some people in the community who are not looking for us to take on regional airport traffic. Last year, the state started this survey of all airports, looking for one that could reduce the traffic at SeaTac and provide business traffic, not business traffic. What's the word I'm looking for? Say it again. Yeah.
Freight traffic?
Freight, thank you. A place for freight airlines to land and get that traffic off of I-5. And out of all the airports, all of a sudden we were notified we were in the top 6.
Okay.
And then, nobody ever asked us anything, and then we were like in the top 3. Nobody ever asked us anything. And when it was announced in the press that the final 2 were in Auburn and Enumclaw or something like that, and it came out that Shelton was not, I had a lot of people say, thank you for keeping us out of that. Well, I had nothing to do with it.
Would there even be enough land to extend the runway another third? Because you're talking about adding 2,500.
We would have to...
Because the prison's pretty close.
It wouldn't be the prison, it would be to the, I think it's further west, maybe southwest over Green Diamond land.
Oh, okay.
We'd have to purchase Green Diamond land to do that. And maybe the FAA has the money to do that, I don't know.
Okay.
But for now, to answer your question, I think it would be on the back burner of pursuing it.
Well, back in '69, a friend of mine and I were driving up the old...
What's the current level of occupancy for properties?
Most of the time I've been on the commission, it's been no vacancies. Recently, after COVID, we might have 5% vacancy right now, but we have people coming to us. The issue as far as growth and vacancies is we don't have any buildings large enough for businesses to move here and bring their workforce and buy a home and put their kids in schools. We need large buildings, not a lot of them right off the bat. It'll be we will be rebuilding the fire building. We're in the process, it's been 2.5 years, but we're in the process of that, and it was fully insured. So we have the money to rebuild that building, and we have someone who has expressed an interest in it, but until it's actually built and available, or, you know, like I say, we're just in the permitting stage now. So it'll be very interesting to see how that goes, because we would very much like to build another 20,000 square foot building, very close to that. That's what we've been talking about. But before we can do that, we need infrastructure. We need sewer, we need water, we need roads, and we need electrical.
That brings up one question I was going to ask you about. It was 3 or 4 months ago, annexation was on the agendas of both the city and you guys, and I haven't heard anything about it. And don't assume I'm a proponent. I'm kind of neutral, but can you just update where we're at and what your belief is on that?
Jeff Knighton was the city manager. He approached us, as had Ryan Wheaton, as had the city manager before Ryan, can't remember who that was. And the holdback for the port is the city pretty much gets everything, and all we get is annexed to the city. And our tenants are not happy about it, because then they have to pay B&O tax to the city. And so they are not in favor of it. But to actually answer your question, it's just kind of gone by the wayside. It's just not being discussed right now at this moment. Yeah.
And this isn't the official plan.
Yeah.
That's not the official
No, it's not.
Why do you want to stay in this position?
Well, because I love it. I love meeting the people. I enjoy doing, it's not work. That guy is fun to work with. And I'm kind of proud of the fact that we are the leadership of the port, not the management of the port. And I think leadership, strong leadership, is important in these days. Yep. Great. Thank you.
Good meeting you.
Thank you.
Good to see you again.
Kind of following Mark, I guess.
Okay. Judge, school board, who wants to take a look at this?
This is the
I've
hot
got a
table.
couple.
Oh, you got some already?
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
A hot spot.
Hi, Carla.
Hello, Joel. And Greg. I think I know everyone.
Yeah.
All righty, well, we may start before they start the clock, but
That's fine.
let's go ahead and punch the clock and do our own here.
Okay. Well, one of the questions that I have, we've been asking the city council people this question. Do you favor having a partnership with the police, having an officer?
Relationships with police officers and understanding their presence. Our superintendent has asked the police force, and they've been shorthanded, and they've said, no, we don't have enough trained police officers to give you one right now. So we are waiting. Our superintendent believes in it, and I think our school board believes in having that partnership. So I think we'll have to wait till the police force has a full working docket, and they can then arrange for someone to be in the schools.
I'd like to follow up on that a little bit. Is there a cost sharing for resource officers, or is that something that's assigned by the city and paid for by the city? Or do you know?
I don't know. That's a good question, Joel. I'm not sure.
I could answer.
Okay.
It used to be.
All right.
Let's help.
It was cost, when I was on the council, it was cost sharing. The school district picked up the absolute payroll, and I'm not sure about the benefits.
Yeah.
But the city picked up all the operational, the gear, training, and everything like that. I'm not sure if the school district picked up the benefits, but
Yeah.
so it was cost shared. That's my recollection.
Well, thank you, Bob. Appreciate that. Yeah.
Well, kind of make a little variation of this question in a way. You're at home and you get a phone call from a parent quite distraught.
Okay.
About what's going on with their child at the school. So how do you handle that?
Yes. So there's a specific child at a school. Well, I can listen, but really that parent needs to go talk to that teacher, first line, see if they can get somewhere to understand the situation, get more information. If they're not satisfied talking to the teacher, then to go to the principal, and that principal should have some philosophy on how to resolve it, and hopefully that he'll listen and hear both sides. And then, if they are still not satisfied with the outcome, they should go to the superintendent, because he oversees the principals and the teachers. So, as a school board member, I can listen, I can give them that direction, that you need to go through the procedure, but that's not my role as a school board member.
Yeah, we ran into that with Chase a long time ago.
You went to school board member trying.
Oh, no, I wasn't on school board.
Okay. Was it when I was his teacher?
No, he was at Bordeaux.
Okay.
Then we were
I thought I was in trouble, and now he's telling me 30 years later.
Carla, I got a budgeting question. You know, I've been to the meetings.
You have, and you're good at budgets.
23-24 budget, the projection to me is unsustainable. And the superintendent just discussed about how much certain costs are increasing this last meeting. The labor contracts are up 6 to 8%. You're currently spending over $18,000 per student. My levy rate payment will increase 30% this upcoming year. What is your outlook for the Shelton School District budget and how to financially be responsible to the taxpayers?
Yes, and I read your letter about that. So, we have costs increase in inflation, of course. That's built in to a budget, and that's understood. We seem to have things running smoothly, and we haven't been in a crisis like Tumwater or North Thurston, where they're cutting back the arts because the budget has to be cut. I don't know every component of the budget yet. I've only been looking at it for about a year and educating myself. I take into consideration that what we have set aside for savings and emergencies has decreased dramatically, and that we really need to look at. I agree, we don't want to run out of funds and look like we're not financially responsible with the money that we're asking from our taxpayers.
I have a question. Oh, go ahead. Okay. I'm going to ask you the same question I asked when I saw you at another meeting about book banning. You know, there's a lot of controversy in the Shelton, Mason County Journal about banning books and all of that. And I saw that there were a couple of books that they removed. Could you discuss your feelings on this subject?
Well, my personal feelings are one thing, but my job as a school board member is to listen to the community, and the community spoke to us and said, you need to review these books again, and that's what we did, and we sent it back to the committee, the original committee curriculum. They looked at it, they made a decision. That also went to the Instructional Materials Committee, and they were instructed from us to look at not just biases, but look at content.
Okay.
And so they looked at it, and they were a diverse group on the Instructional Materials Committee. And they looked at it, and they said they feel like 6 out of the 8 could be instructional materials still, that they represent modern times, interest of our high school students, and yet they should only be at the maturity level. There was a way of saying, we're not giving these to freshmen. We feel like it takes a maturity, because there's foul language in it, and there's controversy over LGBTQ issues, and those are things part of our society. And those teachers felt like that is the kind of material that is needed in our selection of books. And so they made a new recommendation, the IMC committee, that this was what they had talked about and thoroughly believed in, and we accepted that as the school board, trusted their professional opinion, and accepted it. So we still have a safeguard that parents can ask for those books to be exchanged or not used for their child. So that is still a piece that I think gives parents their rights to say, no, I don't feel like this is appropriate, and there are...
To maybe look for even a more diverse committee, so maybe they get more voices than what I believe is not a real diverse committee, but that's my opinion.
Yeah.
But broaden that diversity so you hear those issues before they get to the board or before it becomes controversy.
Yes, I think that's a good solution, Bob. Why haven't you run for school board?
I've applied to the committee, so.
No, I think so too. That's what we want. We want our community represented. We want different opinions back and forth. We want people to think about what they're doing. So, yeah, I hope that we have a bigger one. I heard that they had a hard time finding members, but then I heard some people applied and were not asked. So, yeah, I think it's good to open it up.
So the books that we're talking about, were they part of the curriculum, or were they just books that were available for kids to read?
6 of the books are core curriculum. That means that they will be,
Okay.
2 of the books will be on shelves.
Okay. The other 2 books,
they'll be available. They will be available,
but they won't be part of the curriculum.
No.
Okay.
The literature centers that they use in high school now are small groups of kids who have an interest around one book. So they'll say, this is our topic. We want to find biographies that represent historical fiction, or history, not fiction. Biographies wouldn't work. So then books are chosen around that topic. And so there are choices for all students, what they would want to read in a small literature group directed by one teacher.
Well, Bob and I, and sometimes Greg, are got a part-time job, kind of, with elections and signatures. And when I'm going about, last week, I was with the Lions group screening kids for hearing. And 7th and 8th graders at George Junior High.
You're going to have to ask me another time, I think.
Yeah, you have to ask her later there, Ross. Need to move her on.
Thank you for your good questions. Yeah.
Good seeing you again, Carla. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Bob. It wasn't too bad. I thought Bob was going to do this.
I got more questions.
At least you say smart.
We got some questions down there too.
Hello.
Hello. Good to see you again.
Hi again.
Hello, Judge.
Hi there.
The penmanship was bad.
What?
They accept the paper, you write your name.
Okay. Bam, let's go.
Okay, how do you balance the rights between the victims and the rights of the accused?
All right, thank you so much for that question. Balancing the rights of the parties that are before you is something that every judge has to take into consideration, right? And one of the things, or one of the ways that we do that, is we look at the facts of the case and what has been presented to us. But another way that we do that is in applying the laws properly and equitably. The laws of our land, for example, with regards to our constitutional rights, those constitutional rights are embedded in our court rules, and they include considering the victims and the protection of the safety of the community, as well as the fact that in pretrial hearings, a defendant is presumed to be innocent until proven guilty. So our court rules take that into consideration at all times, and once we are applying those rules, we are ensuring that we are keeping that balance going throughout the process. So I think the key to balancing the rights between victims and defendants is to ensure that we are following the rules and the laws that are applicable in each case.
You have some of your own questions there, Bob.
Kadeen, most elected officials in the county are required to reside in the county. Superior Court judges aren't because they're more of a state-appointed position, state position. Just discuss your feelings about residing in the county and whether you do, and how important that is, you think, to be part of the community and not part of the community.
I believe working in a community and getting to know that community is equivalent to being involved in the community. I understand that as a Superior Court judge, there's no requirement for the appointee or the elected official to live or reside in the county. And I understand why that is, because the job that we're doing is, while it is county-wide and we're focusing on the people, the residents of that county, it is a job that is reflective statewide of judges, right? With that being said, I have been a part of Mason County since 2016 when I started practicing before our courts, and it's because of my work that I have done here why the judges in 2021 hired me as the court commissioner, even though I wasn't residing here at that time. Since then, I have been residing here in Mason County. I have been here, but my family has not been, because this is an election and we don't know what the end result will be. And I do not think it is smart for me or my family to uproot themselves if we're not going to be, at the end of this all, staying here to continue my role as a judge.
There's been some talk about a new jail, and I saw the recent dailies, you might say, and there's been a couple people in jail, been there for 2 years, and why aren't they at Walla Walla or up here or something? And it might have been a district court issue, but like when I was commissioner, rule of thumb, you only have a year of residence in jail. Is that still in effect? But there's 2 people in jail right now that have been there way past that.
And do you know at what stage they are in whether this is pre-trial or after they've been convicted?
No, I forget. I just saw the paper.
So I'm not aware as to what would be the reason why someone is in jail past time that they should be. But I do understand that we do have a number of people who are in jail and they are at the pre-trial stage of their matter. And the reason most of the time for that is because they're indigent and they're unable to make bail in order for them to get out. And while I understand that I don't know what in each individual case that was presented or facts that were presented, I do understand that as an issue for our courts is the fact that we have a lot of people who are presumed innocent, locked away and unable to mount their defense because they're unable to make bail. And that's why there has been a number of attempts to have bail reforms, but we haven't gotten it right yet. And so we have to continue working with law enforcement and other stakeholders to try to come up with ways that we can better come up with pre-trial services that will ensure protection of our community as well as ensuring and protecting the rights of the defendants.
I'm curious about, let's see if I can break this down. As a judge, you're not only the person that adjudicates cases, but you're also in charge of a department, or at least part of a group that's in charge of a department. So given the administrative role and the judicial role, what would you see as maybe the top 3 issues for Mason County Superior Court?
Okay. Trying to think top 3. One of the main issues for Mason County Superior Court would be access to justice for the people in our community. And I'm going to try to quickly go through that. We have a large Guatemalan group of people, and a lot of times they come into court and they do not understand what they're doing. And so being able to ensure that we have either advocates or forms that are in their language so that they can better understand the procedures and what is expected of them would be something that would be helpful to our county court. But with that comes our second issue would be funding. Because most of these things that we need, most of the programs and services that we need would need funding so that we can have staff that would be available to provide the services that are being required. So we would need additional funding for that. And a lot of times we get state policies that are handed down to our local courts, but no funds that were released with those policies. And so we've had to work as a group of judges to be creative in ways in which we are carrying this out. The third thing that I would say would be a top thing for our courts would be ensuring that we have a facility that is up to standard with codes, as well as allowing for multiple people with disability to have easy access to our courts. Right now, we have our elevator is not working and has not been working for quite some time, and they are working on it. But it is causing a lot of strain for people with disabilities with trying to get from one level of the court to the top level of the court. We do have some workaround, and again, we have to be very creative, right? So we do have some workaround that we as a group have come up with to try to help to ease the concern. But it's not something that is the best at this point in time, because we do have people who are unable to get to their court their court hearings.
We have about a minute left. Anybody else have something?
I want to just do a follow-up on the Guatemalan community, because I know that a lot of them don't speak Spanish even. Do you have interpreters in Mobile and Mom if they need to when they're in court?
Yes, the courts, the judges for our court hearings, we do have interpreters in Mom and Congabo. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome.
I finally caught on.
All right. You finally caught on?
I caught on to where I'm supposed to go. I was floundering out there like a lost lamb.
This is our time almost spiraling shorter and shorter.
Actually, I think I started mine
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
City Council 2.
Oh, okay.
Third term I'm running.
Turn, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Well, who would like to start this grilling?
Oh, I will.
Okay.
I'll ask my standard question. Would you support expanding the relationship or changing the relationship with the Shelton School District, providing resource officers?
Yes, they need resource officers. I'm very much for that. I support it.
Okay.
Yes, most definitely, but we have to get a few more police officers, and that's a money thing, so.
So let's follow through on the public safety issue there. What are some things you think are necessary to be able to get more police patrolmen for the city?
Well, we need more revenue come into our city, and more revenue into our city by bringing more building in, just more revenue all around that we can put into the police department and hire some more officers. But revenue is the big word, very important word.
So is there a hard time finding applicants that are qualified once you have the funding?
Pretty much not hard. We have a few that if we paid a little bit more, that's the whole story. We might get it. They would stick around. But we have our police officers that coming back to Shelton that grew up here are working for the Shelton Police Department. Our new police chief that will be taking over the 1st of November, 18 year in the police department. They love this area and they want to live here and they want the best for us. So, yeah.
We talked earlier with a couple of the council candidates about growth in the city. A lot of developments that are looking at hopping in and developing. What role should the city play in helping that along and making sure that the developers and the city are sharing equitably the costs that are needed for growth?
We have to get some infrastructure. The infrastructure is the water and sewer and a few other things. Excuse me. Infrastructure is very important. I truly believe that the developer needs to share some of that cost, not leave the whole burden for the city on that. If they're interested in coming in, yes, then share the cost of putting in the infrastructure. And I'm talking about sewer and water, and that's the main infrastructure. Yeah, so that. Any more? Did I miss the last part of your question?
No.
Okay. Okay, good.
Well, you spoke about revenue, and like when I was commissioner, we created MACOM, the 1% tax, sales tax. Has the city looked at that anymore? 1 penny out of $100.
1/10 for 1%, 1/10 of 1%. We always look at that. Our biggest thing is the transportation benefit district. A percentage of our tax dollars, of the citizens' tax dollars that they spend in the stores, goes to our roads, and which has been a great program. It expires in 2028, I believe, and we're hoping to be able to renew it. I think we can renew it one time, I think. I'm not sure on that. But that is a great, that's a great program to have.
How's it worked?
It's worked great. Yeah, we got the Western Gateway project from Railroad out to the bus turnaround. That was part of that. Let's see where else. I think we used some on Alder when we did Alder Street. I think we used some up Pioneer Way when we took it up Pioneer Way past Bordeaux. So those are some big projects that we use that money for. Goes for sidewalks also, and you notice if you walk around town, our sidewalks are pretty. So we'll be using hopefully some of that for our sidewalks, getting those replaced so someone doesn't fall and sue the city.
We got an update on the annexation discussion with the port from the port commissioner. So why don't we ask from the city council person, what's his status, if any, of?
I haven't heard.
Okay.
I haven't.
How knowledgeable are you about emergency management plans in regards to natural and man-made disasters? Is there anything you think needs to be addressed?
Well, of course, we have to be up on emergency management, you know, the fire department, the police department. The city council is not too much into that.
Okay.
But we do have our emergency management. It's out at the Mason County Public Works building, and that's where if there's a disaster, it's manned from there.
That's more the county than
yeah,
the
the
city
county.
itself.
And if it's, a city and a county thing, a giant earthquake, we would be all involved with it. So, yeah.
I want to follow on to the comment you made about the West Gateway project, and whether or not there's discussion with the county to continue that out, number one. And number two, which is more of a broader question, how important is it that the city doesn't go it alone on certain projects like that, infrastructure, working with the port on infrastructure, things like that?
So that we don't, what's my idea on not going alone?
On cooperative work.
It's very important to be tied with the county on projects. I always say that we live under one roof. We have to make it work for the county and the city. And it's important, it's important for the city and county to work together on that. Just because it saves the city some money. Yeah.
What's your opinion on the county doing levy shifts?
Levy shifts.
Current expense and property tax. After I was commissioner, it happened for Shelton, the citizens of Shelton, and before, like John Tarrant, said no levy shift, no levy shifts.
I don't think we've done a levy shift. The city.
Never.
Don't look at me.
No, I don't.
I don't even know what a levy shift is.
The city can.
Yeah. I'm not sure if that's something the city can do.
The county would do it. The city would have to kick in money on. See, there's current expense and there's road. And you say there's $5, and then let's make the road $8. So that's a shift.
Oh, yeah, I'm not. I'm not.
I think that's a very deep subject.
Yes, it's a little deeper than.
Yeah, because see, Shelton's the only city in this county, but Grace Harbor's got 8 or 9, and Lewis County's got
13
9
or something like that. Yeah.
It's broader. So.
Yeah. Couldn't answer that one. Sorry, Ross.
Boy, this is a deep question for 1 minute, though. With the city's enterprise funds, basically meaning city water, sewer, et cetera, have to fund themselves alone.
Right.
And not share funds. What approach do you think that the city should be taking on revenues for needed upgrades, maintenance, and things like that for the different funds?
Well, that's probably where the increase in our water and sewer is coming from for the enterprise funds. What was the rest of the question?
What approaches do you want to take to be able to make sure that those funds are solvent and providing services to customers they expect?
I'm not real clear on what you are really asking there.
Are you looking at rates to keep the system low?
Oh, I see what you mean.
Are you looking at cost cuts?
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, okay. Well, right now we're looking at rates to keep those solvent, keep them going. Yeah. That's the only way we can afford to do any future water projects or sewer projects is to raise the rates, and that's really, we don't want to do that, but we have to. Is that what you wanted?
That's helpful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Raise the rates right now at this point. Down the road, hopefully, we will have raised them enough that we can back off on them. Yeah.
And I'm assuming that all these developments that we're looking at that might have an interest could also play a role in the infrastructure development.
Yes. General facilities, charge, our GFCs. Hookup fees, yes, all that.
You raised those significantly this last time.
Yeah, we did. And hopefully we haven't discouraged anybody from coming to Shelton to build. And I think that people are seeing Shelton as really a nice little kept secret. I think that we have more to offer and we have more in Shelton that's good. And I'm not sure where it comes from the people that say Shelton is a horrible place to live. I love it. There. Okay, gentlemen.
Thank you, Kathy.
Find some bus fun.
We have to sound intelligent for the cameras.
And that just went on the air. Hello, how are you?
Hello, guys. How are you doing today?
Good to meet you.
I'm Tristan. I'm running for City Council Seat 1. Nice to meet you, Greg. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Tristan.
Hey, how you doing again? Okay.
Who wants to start this time around?
Is the police force adequate to serve the citizens of Shelton?
So I would love to see a little bit more bolstering of the police force. I'd like to see them given a little bit more range to actually enforce some of the laws that we have, because I feel like that's one of our problems. We've let people in the area just kind of loiter, do their own thing, and they're starting to cause more and more problems as they're allowed to do whatever they want. I would like to see some more enforcement of some of the nuisance laws downtown, making sure that people are respecting local businesses and local homes. And that does require a little bit more of a police force, because as I understand it, we do rent a few cells, like jail cells for people, but our police have a difficult time running people to them because they're not located in Shelton.
I'm going to stick with police. I'm going to stick with police.
Okay.
And what's your feeling on additional coordination with Shelton School District to provide cost share with resource officers?
So are we looking to have an officer located in each of the schools or visiting the schools?
Whatever the school district would like. What's your feeling of cost sharing with that, with the city?
So I feel like that's a fairly good idea. I don't know if it's necessarily as a enforcement standpoint, although some of the schools sound like they can certainly use some of that. But what I'd like to see is the police becoming more of a part of the community instead of the enforcers of the community. When I was a kid, we had police officers come into the school. They'd talk about good behaviors, things that you could do to get involved in the community, and they'd be more mentors. They'd play basketball with the kids during recess. They'd go play soccer. They'd push the kids on the swings. And they were a part of our community that made us respect the police officers rather as as leaders, rather than being like, oh, it's the police. Everybody go run or just pretend you're doing something else. The police need to be not like the enforcers, but they need to be something more like along the lines of friends first, and then make sure that they're still enforcing the laws. But I need to see, if we're going to be putting police in schools, there needs to be more education about the police, maybe even just more community outreach with them.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Yes. Let's see. Tell us about yourself and what qualifies you to serve on the city council, and why do you want to serve?
So this is something I've wanted for a long time, but the stars have never quite aligned to get me in there, so this time it did. I'm a person that I can't sit on my hands and watch. I can't complain. I can't talk to people about what I want done. I need to do. So I'm solutions-based. I've always been a leader in every job I've ever held. I move up really quickly because I listen to people. I try and grab the best solutions from each individual person and pull them into one solid plan that is easily executable and has a good budget, things that add a lot of responsibility and will add value to the community. I have some big things that I'd like to do. Like I said, I'd like to bolster some of our police presence. I'd like to, I know one of the big hot ticket items is our homelessness issue. I'd like to take that and maybe in the long term provide more spaces for homeless people to go, some more low-income housing, try and encourage builders to go into that, maybe even some apartment-style housing, which would be great, so that there's options. But as a very, very beginning, I know the city is looking towards finding a location where they can set up camps so that we can push them into that area and away from downtown businesses, downtown houses. So I am heavily endorsing of that plan. In addition, one of the big things I'd like to do is Shelton has a very, very low income per capita. So the people of this community don't have any more money to give to the city. That being said, our tourism department only has a $65,000 a year budget. I would love to see our tourism department given a lot more leeway. We have tons of beautiful buildings. We have an amazing downtown, lots of places you can go that are very close within an hour's drive of here. And we're a beautiful city. We have lots of festivals. We can bring in these tourists to come downtown, spend their money here, and help bolster the city, bolster our businesses, and stop having to bleed our citizens dry to try and pay for the city costs.
You touched on it, and I'd like to follow up on this, is the downtown core. It has long been discussed in the city of Shelton, I mean, even before you, Ross, about how important the downtown is for having a center for people to come and shop, to eat, to do institutional businesses like banks and county, city business, things like that. Given the current condition of the downtown and the mix, what are some of the things that you think that the city can do to help generate a vibrant downtown?
So there's actually a lot. So I volunteer for the Historic Preservation Board. So all of these cities, or all of these buildings downtown, they have beautiful historic locations. You've got these gorgeous, huge buildings, and the state has money for renovating these buildings. They just don't know about it. So all the owners of these buildings, they don't know there's money, they don't know there's grants, and there's just so many of them out there and so many people willing to give money to just take these buildings, beautify them again, make them a place where you come up and you go, wow. Like we've got the beautiful bank building that was Smoke and Mo's, now it's a pizza place, I think. We've got the one on the corner of Railroad that they just renovated and painted. So that's really nice, and I'd like to see more beautification projects in the buildings, in addition to making it more walkable, maybe doing like a downtown art walk to draw people in at night so that we can have a little bit more vibrant of an area. Anything we can do to bring tourists in is going to bring us money. And one of the big things that we can do there too is add a couple of 24-hour public access bathrooms downtown. Because there's a lot of people that come here, and if you're not shopping per se or buying in each of the little businesses, then you don't know where the restrooms are located. So it'd be nice to have downtown bathrooms, easy public parking, or at least signs to the public parking, because we got lots of it over on Coda Street. Just places where it makes it accessible.
Tristan, go ahead.
Well, on the bathrooms up at Port Townsend, they have some storefronts. Oh, could have been a business or what? The building still exists and it's a public bathroom like that. But something we haven't brought up with the other candidate is park. So how important are parks for Shelton?
So I have a 7-year-old and a 10-month-old. So any park that has a playground on it in town, I've been to. Because my daughter's always looking for a new place to go on the swings. Parks are important. Parks are the places that they bring people together. You're having a large gathering, your house isn't big enough for the whole family. Where are you going to hold it? The park. I did my daughter's birthday up at Callahan Park. We invited her friends. I rented the structure for the day. It was actually quite lovely. And I think that sort of thing isn't really known a lot about town either, that you can rent the structures, you can rent the sections of the park and be like, hey, I'm throwing a birthday party here. And when I was a kid, I lived in Southern California. No matter what time of year your birthday was, you threw it outside at the park. So I'd like to see more utilization of our walking trails that we have, our actual playground parks. I'd love to see more playground parks and walking trails, even if it's just fitting them in between houses. I think it's really important to have, and I'd even love to see a biking trail eventually. So something that runs even probably from the marina all the way into town would be really nice.
Tristan, a question on infrastructure.
Yes.
I'm a resident. We're currently paying fairly high sewer and water rates to pay off and pay for maintenance on the current system. There's word that there's large developments, at least on the planning books, coming in.
Yes.
What's your philosophy on infrastructure? Who pays what? And some infrastructure is kind of a gray area between existing and new, and kind of your philosophy on who pays.
Yes. So the more people, the better. Because, for example, say we have our water department. You have fixed costs and you have fluctuating costs. Fluctuating costs are how much water runs through the system. Fixed costs are like people's salaries, for example, or how much it costs to run the wastewater treatment plant. So the big thing is the fixed costs. The more people we have paying into the fixed costs with all these new systems going in, the cheaper it gets for everybody. The city may have to take out a loan or get grants in the short term in order to provide the infrastructure and get more storage for the water. But in the long term, what that's going to do is in the next 10 years, we can lower the cost of people's water bills because we'll have increased our city by thousands of people. And that cost will be spread out among all of them.
To follow up on it, do you think that development should pay for development, or do you feel like the hookup fees should cover, for new development, should hookup fees cover the cost for the extra storage and the adding on to?
In 10 seconds.
So 10 seconds, I think it should be a shared expense. So if you're doing a development, all the branching networks that come from the main line should be the cost of the development to make, and then up to the main line getting it there should be the cost of the city.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you,
very
Tristan.
much. You guys have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, thanks.
All right.
Hi, Carrie.
Hello.
It's now the hot seat, literally.
Right? It might be now. I know we've got three more to go, right?
Right, 3 more.
I think so. 'Cause I've got yes. County, I know it's it's a lot.
All righty, well, who wants to start this?
Go ahead and start with your question.
Okay, I'll
You have the
question of the hour.
What is the question of the hour?
But, well, it's not a question of the hour. One of my questions on the budget.
Yes.
The 23-24 budget and the projection, to me, is not sustainable. The superintendent just went over costs that are increasing significantly above what was in the budget that he did. Payroll, the 20% increase in milk and those type things.
Right.
You know, the contracts you signed were 6% increases.
Right, but we wouldn't sign those if that wasn't possible to do.
It was not in the full-year projection. Anyway, we can debate that,
Yeah.
Jerry.
Well, and he can debate that a lot better than I.
You asked a question about large-scale maintenance. That's still out there, whether that's how we're going to fund that.
Yes.
Because what is your vision for the financial stability of the district in the foreseeable future?
Yeah, it definitely is a big concern of mine, and I've been seeing ever since COVID that our general fund balance has gotten smaller. But I don't agree with you. I do think that we do have a sustainable budget. I know that when we are given the budget amounts and we're taking a look at that, they do take into account those raises for what we're doing. And our enrollment does continue to be more than what they have budgeted for. Not by a lot, but that is where you're making some of that up from. The large-scale maintenance is a concern of mine, and I do know that there are, I mean, just like in my own house, we weren't expecting our heat pump and water heater to go out, but they did. And so you have things like that that can happen. It's all, when I first got on the school board, one of the big things was a replacement of OBGH's roof. And that was a cost that we weren't expecting to have happen because it didn't seem like that should be happening that soon. But it did. And so we did have to deal with that. So just like any other budget, you've got to figure out how you're going to deal with that. So that's why we have the budget planning. That's why Brenda comes up and talks about the budget every other meeting that we have. And so we're always on track with that. And if there's a big issue, then we've got to discuss that. And we have special budget study sessions to discuss those particulars of that. So,
would you be in support of having cooperation between the school district and the police department and have a resource officer at the schools?
Yes, and I was from the get-go, and we had those, but it's been my understanding that the Shelton Police Department doesn't have enough officers to actually have one of those at our school district.
So if they did have them available, you would be for sharing
Yes.
in the cost?
Yes,
Right.
yeah, it wasn't an issue. Yeah, I personally thought that when they were there that developed a great relationship between the police officers and the kids. It was a nice community thing. I know that we actually hired somebody who used to be a police officer to work at Shelton High School, so we do have people there that have that training, but they aren't currently a police officer. They took the job as a security person at the high school, but they're not a police officer.
So do you have people currently in any of the schools right now that are doing that?
That are an SRO officer?
That are a resource, whether they were past police.
We do have safety and security people, and we have a safety and security director, but they don't all have police training.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, school levy.
Yes.
I'm not sure the cycle.
We just passed one.
So you're on a 3-year?
We have we've got another almost 3 years, which is good because it passed with a small margin. I mean, I know that right now that there's not a large appetite for, having taxes continue, even if it's one that's just basically renewing. Yeah.
So it adequately serves the needs.
It does. We were very thankful to have passed that. Yeah. So that funding is there.
It's a huge question.
Is it?
But what do you feel is the appropriate relationship between school districts, Washington State in terms of their responsibilities for funding education, and what's going on with the Department of Natural Resources on their responsibility to help with school infrastructure, school building, things like that?
Yeah, I was just recently asked by WASDA, which is the Washington State School Director Association, to be on their natural resources board because Shelton gets about $50,000 in timber service money. And so it's been interesting. I've only been through 3 of those meetings, but listening to some of the conversations, especially I think it's the Wahkiakum School District that hasn't passed a bond for over 20-something years. Their community just does not or is unable to support a bond. They need better facilities, and I know that the state and I think it was Chris Reichdahl through OSPI was looking at wanting money to come from that natural resource funds to help school districts like that need infrastructure, that aren't able to pass their own bonds. But then it didn't pass. I think the state did not accept that proposal. So they're back to kind of square one on that. And no school district, their apportionment of that, depending on if you have timber sales in your school district, I don't think anybody has enough that would fully fund, a big like school type of, that's millions of dollars instead of just thousands of dollars. So I'm learning more about that, and just to be honest, I don't yet have an opinion on that because I just don't know that much about it. I've been thankful that our community has stepped up. It was 8 years ago when I was on the board that we decided to run a bond, and our community passed the biggest bond that we had, and we needed to build a new Mountain View, which they did. We needed that addition at the high school, which has been able to bring the 9th graders back up to the high school, and each school actually got some improvement. We made sure that each school was going to have some type of improvement, and it was through the state match funds that came after we had used up our bond money, and it's not a match of what our bond was. It was about $19 million. We used that to then upgrade the athletic facilities. That's what brought the turf field to the football field, and got a weight room and upgraded the pool as well as the wrestling rooms. I don't think we were able to do enough with like the theater, so the arts might be one place, because I know that the theater that's used there could probably stand to have some improvements too.
What should school districts do to support and foster the needs of diverse students?
What should school districts do?
What should school districts do to support and foster the needs of diverse students?
So one of the pillars of our strategic plan, there's 4 of them, and that's really where to focus your attention and money is safe and welcoming environments. Okay. And so that's been one of the things that I think, whether that's trainings for teachers or students, it's, on just having, just having safe and welcoming environments and whatever you can do to foster that, because every student deserves to be able to come in and get an education regardless, and regardless of anything. And we've got a lot of, the other pillar is high quality literacy, so a good quality education for whoever you are, regardless of your socioeconomic background, your gender, your race, your sexual orientation, whatever that is, have a safe and welcoming environment so that everybody can get a good education so that you can become a good quality citizen. I think school districts we are trying to do a lot to support that. It shouldn't be a political issue. Should be an issue of getting every kid an education and having a high standard for every kid to have an education.
I have a question for you, Carrie, and I'll be the first to admit you're the best at this. What responsibility do you have as a school board director to personally respond to constituents who have concerns or questions?
I have always tried to respond, and I know sometimes it's not in the fastest manner, but I try to listen when there is a concern of any kind and get a better understanding of where they're coming from and direct that person to somebody in the school district that might have the best information on that if it's not something that I can answer. So I don't know if that answers that completely. I've always felt that way, and I've never felt like it's been too much of a burden. Honestly, there isn't anybody that's, used up so much of your time that it feels like you can't listen and try to direct them to where they can get the best information. Sometimes that may be when a parent has an issue that's specific to something at a school, that they need to go through that chain of command and go to the principal or go to the teacher first. But I always let people know that they can follow up with me too if they don't feel like they're getting an answer, because sometimes that happens too.
Okay, thank you. Thank you
All right.
very much.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. All right.
Are we? Yeah.
We've got
two more or three.
We've got Dale and
Judge Stephen, or Andy Stevens.
Yeah.
bring it in, buddy.
We're on the hot seat now. Hey, Dale.
Hi, how you doing? How you been? Oh, choo-choo?
Hi, Dale. Bob Rogers.
Yeah, Bob.
Okay. We be talking port.
So what's new at the port?
What's that?
What's new at the port?
Don't ask me, I don't work there yet.
What would you like to see new at the port?
That's a good question. I would honestly, my first business item that I would like to see happen would be a fire tanker, a fixed wing 4-engine fire tanker. I promise the voting public that that's one of the first things that I would take care of. Can you hear me, Dietrich? Good, thank you. I promise the voting public that that's one thing that I would shoot for, because our fire seasons are becoming longer, more dangerous, and we can get a helicopter in within 20 minutes to drop a little water in a bucket. But the one thing that does take a longer time is getting a fixed wing tanker to drop water. That takes 45 minutes to an hour out of Moses Lake or Yakima.
Okay.
This is a federal firefighting tanker. And what we need to do is relocate this tanker. And we need it for the whole west side of the state. Sanderson Field is an extremely stable platform. We fly C-130s in and out of the east-west runway on Sanderson all the time. So it's made to handle these platforms. So we can put a hangar with a maintenance facility, a maintenance crew, and a flight crew right where the old fairgrounds used to sit. So we've already been looking at the possibilities. Camp Murray says yes, can happen.
And they're supportive of having something at Sanderson Field.
Yes, it's centrally located for the west side of the state.
Yeah.
And so that's the first thing that I'm shooting for.
Where would the funding come for?
Federal government, all federal government. Federal tax money, federal funding. No improvements necessary for the runway itself, although the improvements to the runway, I would like to see us purchase more land, as the port has been trying to do, purchase more land to the west of the runway. That's been an ongoing purchase program for the port, ongoing for the last few years. Yeah, right across the road.
We're in it.
We're on it.
That's another jurisdiction area of the port. Is this adequately serving the port, or does it need more improvements? Or
it does need more improvements. We have land that can't be touched behind MCRA, which is wetlands. It's protected because it is wetlands. It's an environmentally protected area. Is it going to be kept that way? Yes. That, in my estimation, it needs to be protected. We have land behind Brady at the far south end of the port property. Can it be developed? Yes, it can. Do we need to purchase more property? I believe we do. Do we need to develop what we have? Yes, we do. What would I like to see happen on this property on Johns Prairie? I would like to see us develop something unique. It's been suggested to me, and I'd like to see it happen. I'd like to see us have a clean recycling facility. Everybody talks about how we're always filling landfills. And our jobs in the community, we don't have a whole lot of employable college graduates. And what we do have is an employment base that works 4 months out of the year during the brush season, during the holidays. What we could use is some high school graduate jobs in a recycling facility that separates aluminum, glass, paper, and plastic. The aluminum, paper, and glass gets separated out and shipped off to other recycling facilities. We keep the plastic. We have a facility that takes that plastic and makes construction board. They're the ones that you use on decks and walls. It feels like wood, looks like wood. And they even make clothing out of a lot of it. And it's a low heat, no emission product. And that we can hire on many employees, simple instructions, simple hire on processes, and low chance for injury to the employees. So that's one thing we can hire on here locally. Another thing I'd like to see hired on in the community is if we can find an investor. I'm not going to mention any names of those people who have money in the community, but for $8.3 million, we could bring in a company from Minnesota that makes clip-together structures for disaster relief. They make 2 and 3 bedroom houses that clip together. You can put them together in 3 to 4 hours in disaster areas to replace homes that have been burned out, blown apart by tornadoes or hurricanes. And you put these clip-together homes on a pallet. They call it palletization. They put them on C-130s, ship them off to the disaster area, and they can be put together in 4 to 5 hours each. And for $8.3 million, we could have an investor have a turnkey facility with 6 months worth of training for the new owners and their employees, for 40 employees.
Getting back to Sanderson Field, if the port was able to purchase, more land to the west to extend the runway, would you be for trying to have a regional airport there too?
Yes, the reason for that is not only for a regional airport, but I am also supportive for disaster relief, because I am a major supporter of Department of Emergency Management during disaster relief support and coverage. I just went through a wonderful tour of the disaster offices at the new county offices up off of Highway 101, and wonderful facility. And we need to have our port tied to them at the hip. And because our airport is the most stable facility and geologically the most stable on the peninsula. So when something happens, earthquake, volcano, tsunami, whatever it may be, our facility will be a hub of disaster relief. And so we need to plan ahead for that.
Back in '85, Simpson cut back. Closed Grisdale, Govey, and all that. And the former county commissioner, deceased, Annette McGee, she come up with this idea of an intergovernment council.
Intergovernment what?
Intergovernment council. We're going to save Shelton, kind of thing. And so we met at the auditorium for the conclusion of the committee. And I was sitting there listening, and I thought to myself, the port is where it's at. With jobs, everything. This county would generate, this county benefits because of port. It's all because of the port. You have that philosophy.
Do I have that philosophy?
Yeah.
I honestly believe that as long as we have a good working relationship with all entities, the city, the county, emergency management, the state patrol, we all have to work hand in hand, and we just have to have the right communication abilities and the contacts if they're still alive after a national disaster. And we have to have that one magic Bible book, the disaster book, that has direction for us to follow. And that's the Bible, the Golden Bible, the white binder, the white 3-ring binder with that, your department's direction on who to contact, how to contact, when to contact, for what disaster. It's all lined out. And if you follow it line by line, you can never, ever go wrong. And you support each other.
I was in charge of all the counties when I was commissioner. Camp Murray is on Springs. That building is on Springs.
And you take a hard ride when it hits.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dale.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay.
Some good ideas.
Well, thank you. Like I said, the court commissioners don't run anything. It's that court administrator. She's the
my time, man.
Oh, geez. She's the one. So, okay.
I don't think it's fair that after all of this, and my throat is now sore and raw, that I'm going to be mic'd.
Is this your water?
It is indeed my water.
Well, take some of it.
Okay, who wants to ask the first question?
And it's really loud in here, so if you could actually...
And Bob's got some good ones.
Oh, no.
Well, I was the same one. The Superior Court judge is not required to be a resident in Mason County like most elected officials.
No,
let me just a sec, Dave. What do you think the benefit and negative parts of living in the community where you're a judge?
Well, first, I'll give you a really, really short reason why that is. So when our state was first founded, we had all these really small rural counties, right, with hardly any population whatsoever. But they had to have a judge. So if you required that the judge be from that county, then you're not going to have a judge, right? So that's why it's different for a lot of the other elected positions. You don't have to reside in the county. Of course, there's a benefit. I mean, you're more part of the community. You're able to participate much easier in the community. Like I'm a member of Rotary, and we put on Oyster Fest this year. I worked security, so I just wandered around for 2 days, making sure people weren't smoking where they shouldn't be smoking, stuff like that. Easy for me to do. I live about 10, 15 minutes from where that was put on. My Masonic Lodge is here. So, and we do the bikes for books and stuff like that. So I get to be more involved in things of that nature. My grandchildren, which is a major reason why I moved to Mason County, they're part of this community, part of the school system. So I'm able to be more involved in that, go to their school events. And I think it's important to judges to go to those kind of events and be seen at the events, be available to the public, obviously not discuss cases or anything like that. But I think there's a lot of benefits to residing in the county. The main benefit of residing out of the county is perhaps you own a home or something like that, or in another county. I don't know, maybe you get a better deal or something like that. Though I can't imagine you could live in a better place than Mason County.
How do you balance the rights of the victims versus the rights of the accused?
Well, there's the Constitution. Defendants have rights, except for Class A felonies, things like murder, attempted murder, forcible rape, child molestation, the first degree. Everything else, you have to be able to give bail, right? Or conditions to be released. So what you look at is you look at their criminal history, you look at their warrant history, you decide, hey, is this person a flight risk? But you're also supposed to look at the victims' rights. We amended our state constitution in the 80s specifically for victims to have rights, to know if somebody's going to be released, to have their concerns taken into consideration. They can actually address the court when the court's addressing release. And it actually says in Article 1, Section 34, victims' rights, that a victim's rights are no less important than a defendant's rights. But this is where experience is really, really important. So I've been, almost day in, day out, the majority of my career, which is now getting close to 25 years in the courts. I've been in front of all kinds of judges. I've defended all kinds of cases. I've prosecuted all kinds of cases, murder, you name it, I've probably prosecuted it or defended it. So with that experience, you get judgment. And so, the law enforcement community have overwhelmingly endorsed me, not because I'm going to slam criminal defendants and just lock them away as some people believe. No, because they're concerned about victim safety and community safety, so they've overwhelmingly endorsed me. Defense attorneys have endorsed me. Prosecutors have endorsed me. The majority of your elected officials in Mason County have endorsed me because they know that I have the proper judgment, and that comes through experience mostly. A lot of us have had careers, and we know as we've done those careers, a job that would take somebody that is learning how to do it, even though they've mastered all the fundamentals, takes so much time, whereas an expert goes and boom. So I have that expertise that has been gained by experience. I've seen all the cases. I'm able to weigh what should be done much better than somebody who doesn't have that experience.
I have a follow-up to that, right? Okay. The other two Superior Court judges, Bonnie Cogg and Dan Goodell, they're both endorsing your opponent. I'm sure you've been in court before them probably many times.
Judge Cobb actually trained me originally when I was in Whitman County when we were both, he was a couple of years ahead of me. Okay. And his joke is that he tried to train me, but I was untrainable. Okay. And it is a joke. Yes, all the judges that were appointed by Jay Inslee have endorsed my opponent, who was appointed by Jay Inslee.
But the two judges that I mentioned were also elected later.
After they were appointed.
After they were appointed, but they were elected by them.
Okay, and you want me to tell you why they did it?
I want to tell you why maybe they want Kadeen Ferguson Brown.
Shouldn't you be asking them? I mean, you want me to speculate as to what they...
Well, maybe that's...
No, I won't speculate as to why they've done it. Okay. I will just say that the majority of judges appointed by Jay Inslee have appointed a judge that was appointed by Jay Inslee. Okay. That's my answer.
Okay.
Little history, what you're talking about.
And I'm sorry, sir, could you speak up?
A little history, like you were talking about residents. Well, Mason County finally got a judge in 88 or 86. And at the time...
And who was endorsed?
And they all came from Thurston. The court was Thurston Mason. And now it's Solity Mason, who blossomed to 2 judges, now 3. Do you think Mason County's population needs 4 judges?
That's obviously, I think we should always have more judges because then, we could do a better job and have more time, but it costs money. There's always trade-offs. Yeah. And so I'm not the one who would make those trade-offs. The county commissioners, the legislature, they set how many judges you get in a county. That's their job to make those trade-offs. So, of course, I would want another judge so that we could do a better job on all of our dockets and have more time to devote to individual cases. But I'm not the one that decides what trade-off has to be made. What else doesn't get funded if we fund another judge? And plus, the legislature is set so you can only fund so many judges. There's a lot of counties where they're actually funded more judges than they actually have because they've their county commissioners have decided that they don't want to fund that position. So I don't think that answers your question, but I think that's the best answer I can give.
I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the different hats that a court official holds, being not only the judicial hat, but the administrative hat. Because as a team, you folks would be working on budgets, scheduling, priorities. Maybe you can talk to us about how you would handle it.
Well, what they have is one of the judges is the chief judge and has primary over administrative matters. Of course, the other judges weigh in and stuff like that. And I've actually run like a public defender's office. I've run my own private defense office. I've supervised people as a prosecutor. So I do have, I've had to present budgets. Whew. You know, if you have good staff, well, that's when it really pays off. So I've had to do those kind of administrative matters. They can be really difficult because, you know, you're deciding people's jobs and things like that. Court procedures affect people. It affects, you know, their working lives, things like that. I've had a lot of experience doing that. I don't think I'd have a problem. Like I said, it rotates because it's such a difficult job. And it doesn't rotate, it's not an election or anything like that. They all take turns. I would imagine, and I've not discussed this with Judge Goodell or Judge Cobb, I would imagine that they would do that before I would. Of course, they've been doing it for a while, but you know, there's always retirements and things like that, so it can change. But if I'm called to do that, I will do it, and I can do it.
One question that I've always had when I watch the news and I see somebody that's accused of a heinous crime, they say, well, they put $1 million bail. Why did they even put an amount? Is it against the law to say remand in the state of Washington?
Yes, so you hear about this, these battles are going on like Chicago and the East Coast, because they have remand. I'm actually interested in why you would know what that is, because we don't call it remand here.
Yeah.
So that's actually...
watching Law and Order.
We don't have it. Yeah, so technically we have it for Class 8. Oh, I'm sorry. It's a great question. I wish I could answer that.
Well, I think you're the last candidate anyway.
Oh.
So you might not have to move.
I don't think I've hit that table.
Oh, you haven't been to that table?
No.
Okay. Well, hey, good meeting you.
I tell you, my throat.
We've already talked with you.
I would love to talk to you more about that.
And I know that my question was kind of snarky, you know, the other one about Harvey.
Thank you so much for participating tonight, and for all of you who came out, you know, on a rainy night, yay! And for the candidates, we know how difficult this is to run for office. So we really, really appreciate you. And please spread the word. Tell everybody how much fun you had and how much you learned about everybody. So, have a good evening, and thank you again. All right. Bye-bye.
This broadcast on Mason Web TV, powered by HCC, was made possible by Hood Canal Communications, committed to providing quality services that exceed customer expectations in voice, video, data, and customer service, keeping our community connected since 1934. Mason County Public Health and Human Services Prevention Education Partners Substance Abuse Prevention Coalition, helping provide prescription drug take-back boxes in Mason County and providing lockable bags for your prescription drugs, cannabis, and vape products. Mason County PUD 3, connecting our community with safe, reliable, economical, and sustainable services 24/7. The Conklin team at Windermere Real Estate. When it comes to real estate, nothing compares to local knowledge. And Mason Health, united community, empowered people, exceptional health.
Thanks for watching Mason Web TV, powered by HCC.